Hi, welcome to this video. Here we'll be looking into the six golden rules for trading success, right? So no matter if you're a day trader or a swing trader or an option trader, or if you're just doing positional, this video will be used to you. You can pick up a few stuff from there. So watch this entire video, right? So my name is Maria Sundrapandian. I'm a full-time trader and I'm an entrepreneur. My focus is trading systems which are very simple, and I'm going to be sharing my compressed learning from going through a lot of ups and downs in the last 8 years. And this is going to be my perspective, and this is the same perspective which my students took seriously, and they are implementing this in their trading, and they're getting massive results, right? So stay tuned and watch this video entirely, and we will go into these rules right now. So the rule number one, right? So the rule number one is to make some rules, right? So I'm just going to be quickly covering all the six rules, and we go deep into each one of them later. But the rule number one is to make rules, right? So the idea is to be uh, trading rule-based systems or mechanical systems, as they are called, right? So that is the rule number one. We will go deep into each of that. Rule number two is relentless discipline, right? This is one skill that is going to make a huge difference between winning and losing, right? The ability to be consistent and the ability to be controlling our emotions, and all of it come under this discipline. So we will look into that. And rule number three is going to be switch off noise, right? This is expected here because all the decisions that we make is mostly influenced by a lot of information flow that is coming from outside, right? So we need to have a switch that can switch off all the noises, right? So that's about that. And rule number four is to get that edge, right? As some wise men said, right? If you do not have a competitive edge, do not compete, right? It's as simple as that. If we do not have an edge of, or we do not know what is the edge of the system that we are trading, we need to find that edge. And rule number five is we need to understand the law of large numbers, right? This again is one of the key things here. Once we understand this, we can have a very good control over our emotions, and we can have a very good control over our urge to book profits and all of that, because as with any other laws in nature, right? And stock markets follow this law of large numbers, and so we should be knowing what this is. And of course, the next one, but not the least, right? The trading as a business. No matter how we look at this, right? Trading is a pure legitimate business, right? It's not a gamble, it's not a hobby. So we need to treat this as one. We need to treat this as a business. We need to have a proper plan and a proper plan of process and execution and all that. So we will be looking into all of that. So let's just go into the first one right now. So as simple it might sound, right? The rule number one is to make rules. And the rules that we are talking about here is making a rule-based system or a mechanical trading system or systematic trading, right? However, we can call that. This is going to be so important, right? Because we all know that decisions are very, very important. Whatever we are doing right now in our life currently is based on the decisions that we made in the past, right? If you agree what I'm saying. So decisions are very, very important. Decisions, whatever decisions that we take now is what is going to define our future. So when it comes to decision making, we human beings think that, actually we are over optimistic about things, right? And we believe that we have the ability to predict the future price movement, right? When I'm talking about the stock markets, humans believe that they can predict what is going to happen in the future. So that is the reason most of the times they believe in their mind and their knowledge to come up with these trading decisions. So when we go into a rule based system, what we are trying to do here is to try to remove the human mind out of it. We are removing the human out of the equation, and we are going to be taking decisions based on rules. The rules are going to be taking the decision. What are the important rules? I mean, what are the important decisions that we need is when to buy, where to buy, and where to exit the trade, right? So all of these things should be done by your rule-based trading system, right? So what are the points here? Decisions is what make us, right? Most of us overestimate our mind, and emotions is what that ruins the trading, right? And if you look at the profit and loss account, it is not the external things that actually define what is the profit or loss that we make. It is all our emotions, right? Our emotions drive us to book profits early. Our emotions drive us to be to be in the losing trade for a very long time, right? And all of these emotions are what is going to be serving what is the profit and loss that we see in our account. do professional traders do professional traders or traders who make big money, they do not have emotions? Not really, they do have emotions, right? But the key difference is this: they do not let that emotions come into the trading, right? If I can repeat that again, they do not let the emotions come into the decision making part. So decision making, when it is totally rule based, we put a stop to the emotions, right? Emotions, of course, whenever we see our money, hard earned money, going up and down, there's going to be emotional rush. And mostly, if you understand what I'm saying, all the decisions that we make when we are emotionally high, most likely it is going to be a wrong decision, right? So whenever people come in this trading, and when they see their profits and loss, and they make on the fly decisions, on the go, buy this, sell this, and again short it and go long, and all of those decisions come, that those are driven by emotions, not really any kind of logic, right? So a rule-based system is totally based on logic and zero emotions, right? So what is a rule-based system? If I can give you an example, just plot a super trend, a simple basic indicator, right? You plot a super trend. If it goes, the candlestick closes above the super trend, it crosses over. You make a rule that on the second candle, I'm going to make this entry, and I'm going to be keeping the stop loss, and I'm going to be exiting at 1 is to 3, 1 is to 4. Whatever the rules might be, right? That is how a mechanical trading system works. When that second candle is forming, I'm not going to be looking into the chart or looking into other things and say that no, I'm not going to be taking the trade, right? If your rule-based system tells that it is a buy, we need to buy and put in the stop loss, and that is how trading should be, right? Where we are not going to be sitting and taking the decisions. The trading system itself, right? A rule-based trading system should take the decision. That way, we are out of this decision tree. We are not actively taking any kind of decision, and that way, we won't let the emotions enter our trading, right? So, there are a lot of rule-based trading systems, right? So it's not, it's not a rocket science. And how to make these trading systems, how to back test them, all of that, I'll be making a few videos about that as well. So make sure you subscribe so that you can get those videos later. But there are a lot of systems. I'm not saying, again, it's not about the systems, it's about these rules and how are we going to be following the rules. So we'll go to the next one here, which is going to be this relentless discipline, right? No matter what we are trying to achieve here, I can tell you one thing: if you are able to achieve this, market is going to reward the disciplined trader, right? Again, the flip side is also true, right? Market will always punish the trader who is wayward, who's not disciplined, and who's not consistent. If you're going to be consistent in following one particular system, the first step is, again, you make a rule-based system, and the next step, you're going to be following the rule-based system consistently over time, and that is when we can see the results, right? So discipline, of course, it is going to be one of the key major differences, and it is the one needed skill. And of course, it's applied everywhere in life. you know Disciplined people, get all of the other things that they need, right? So if you can just take a few seconds and think of somebody who you think has achieved something great in their life, right? So might be anyone: Ambani, uh, Mark Zuckerberg, or Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, anybody who's achieved anything majorly. If most of us would, if I ask you, most of us would say it is because of their hard work, or because of the, a bit of luck, and they're putting in the time, they're putting in the efforts and all of that. But if you understand deeply, it is all because of being disciplined. All this hard work, luck, of course, even luck comes for the people who are disciplined, right? So discipline gets, gets all of these things under that. So if you're going to be disciplined in following through, right? Get up and put in the trades and not worried about the results. And again, you go on the next day and put in the trades and not worried about the results. And of course, it takes a bit of practice, but discipline is one key thing that we definitely be looking to learn. And of course, the discipline in following a system. If you know that the system has a good winning edge, our next best thing to be doing is to surrender to the system and follow it, right? We should not be again going and taking those decisions. This all comes under discipline. So discipline is one of the key things here. And what is next? So the next is switch off noise, right? We definitely need to understand a little more deeply about what do we mean by noise, right? So noises are nothing but the unwanted information that is flowing inside our system when we are trading, right? So as we discussed already, trading itself can become a daunting task if this, if you're required to take in a lot of information and make a trading decision, it is always going to be difficult, right? So that is the exact reason why we want to leave our decision making to a rule based trading system. Right now we have this noise. So noise is the information that is flowing into us through the form of TV news, or in the form of forum posting, Facebook groups, Telegram groups, WhatsApp groups. All of these places, there's a lot of information that is overflowing, right? And somebody says buy, and somebody says sell, and somebody says Nifty is an overbought area, right? So that is something that we also saw recently, right? Everybody said that Nifty is overbought. There is a correction that is due, right? It is their perspective, and that might impact your trading decision, right? So that might be the same period when you are trading a proper system, and the system gives you a buy signal, you wouldn't want to go and take that because of the bias, right? So the recent information that you receive, your mind is going to be crunching that information, and it's going to form a bias about that, right? So again, all of this information that is overflowing is definitely going to be having an impact in following a system. That is going to have an impact in our discipline, right? So there are few things that we cannot control. What is happening in these other places, we cannot have a control over that, right? So what is being displayed on the TV, what is the information that they are sharing, we cannot control that. But of course we can control what information that we can receive, right? So we need to consciously put a stop to the information that is happening, or information that is just coming reaching us from all other means, right? So just exit these groups and exit the places that you think are not relevant to you, or it's kind of disturbing your way of trading, right? We need to identify these noises in the first place and to eliminate them or put a gate to them, right? So as we speak, right? So as we speak, you know, there are a lot of things happening inside our mind. And as I speak right now, as you're listening to this as well, your mind is always passing on some judgment, right? Our mind keeps passing on the judgments, right, about what are even talking right now, right? You might be thinking, what is he talking right now, and is he going to be selling me some course or whatever, right? So all of these judgments, our mind always comes up with these judgments, and that happens over time. And these judgments are influenced by our past experiences. Maybe you've seen somebody doing that, right? Maybe you've seen somebody doing that, or it is also influenced by something called as conditioning. So that is what we do not want, right? On your experience, you experience something, of course you have the right to judge, but not based on what is being conditioned to you. So conditioning is always happening from the external forces, right? So from childhood we've been conditioned to believe in a lot of false things, and we've been conditioned to believe in a lot of things which we have not experienced, but just by listening to others, right? Our mind get conditioned, and we keep passing on judgments, right? So and again, we do not want that kind of a judgment to come when we are trading. Everything else is totally fine, but when you are going to be sitting and trading, when your hard earned money is on the line, we do not want to pass any kind of judgments. We do not want to take any calls on the fly, right? We do not want to go beyond the system and trying to beat the system, right? So so there are certain things which we cannot control. So what we have control on, we need to put a control on that, right? So we need to switch off noise, and we need to stop conditioned by those external forces. So that's about it. So switch off noise. There are a lot of various ways to do it. One of the ways is, if you're following one system, right, do not learn even something else, right? That way you're again, you're not going behind shiny objects all the time. And if you're following a system consistently, 1 week, 2 week, and of course you will lose some kind of motivation, and you will again be attracted by something else. So it is always good to cut that off, right? So that that does not require your attention when you are going to be trading using a rule based system. And our next rule is to get that edge, right? So what do we mean by edge? Of course, as I said earlier, if we do not have a competitive edge, it is better not to compete, right? So we need to have that edge. So most of the traders, when they start out trading, or even some of the experienced traders, believe that their edge lies in the winning rates. So they only focus on the winning rates, right? So they are always looking out for systems that has good winning rates. But of course, winning rate could be one of the edges, but it is not all, right? So there are a lot of different kind of edge that we can get from a trading system. One of it, of course, is winning rate. So winning rate, if you have a system that you've back tested and the winning rate is good, and maybe it's above 60%, 70%, of course, it's not anything that is written on the stone, right? Some people believe, the winning rates has to be above 90%. It's not the case. There can be systems winning rates of only 55%, right? But their average winners are a lot more than the average losers. That is what is the edge, right? It's not only about the winning rate. So most people are focusing on the winning rates, but we need to identify what is the edge that we trade in a system. We trade a system in crude oil, and that is an intraday system that has a winning rates of only 53%, right? So half the time it more than little above half of the times it wins, and half of the time it loses. But the average winner is lot higher than the average loser. So that is the edge of that particular system, right? So we cannot just decide on an edge just looking at the winning rate. And there could be another system, right? Average winners and average losers are almost the same, right? Again, we do trade one short strangle, positional short strangle, where the average winners and the average losers are almost the same. 2,000 rupees is the average winner, and 2,000 rupees is the average loser. But there, the winning rates is almost like 70%, right? 72%. That way, the edge, right? The trading edge lies in the winning percent on that particular system, right? So there could be a lot of things that happen that way, right? And again, there could be a system where the winning rates are only 27%, right? But again, the risk reward is higher, right? So there are lot other things that we need to consider. It's just not the winning rate. It's also need to consider the risk reward, and what is the average winner, and what is the average loser, and what is the drawdown of the system. And there are a lot of things. And some systems, all of these things make up for the edge. So we should not blindly select or look for a trading system that has a higher winning rates, right? So higher winning rates can probably be a good system, for people who do not want to take any kind of, people who are just starting out, right? So for them, maybe high winning rate system could be good. But again, high winning rate system with the average winner smaller than the average loser, then that is not a good system. So we need to keep an eye on that, and we need to look into that in that perspective, right? So what is going to be next? So next is the law of large numbers, right? Again, this is, people who are into, machine learning or data mining, they would understand what is the law of large numbers, or if you're into statistics. So again, trading is not about the technical analysis part, it is more into statistics. So that is what the point here is. So we need to understand the law of large numbers. That means, when something is working out good for a very long period of time, that is what we need to trust. And we should not be trusting something which the focus is on very small numbers, right? So if you ask which is the most consistent team in the IPL, most people would say Mumbai Indians or CSK, right? Because the last 12 years, it is the data from the last 12 years, and most of us, remember what we see. Most of us follow cricket. Last 12 years, this is what has happened, and anybody would say almost. You can just go and ask anybody; they'll say Mumbai Indians or CSK, because it is the law of large numbers, right? Just because CSK lost in this particular series, or just because Mumbai Indians didn't perform well in one particular series, that information would not change, right? Because that's the law of large numbers. So that also applies in trading, right? Where if some strategy or some system is not working for that particular period of streak of 4 or 5 or 6 trades, most people dump the strategy and they go to the next one, right? And again, they go behind the next shiny object, and because they believe in law of small numbers, right? So whatever, no instant gratification, they only look into that for that particular 1 month or 2 month, and then they believe that this is not something that is working, and let me go and find something else, and that cycle keeps going on, and it keeps moving, right? And again, the flip side of it is also true. Some people who maybe started trading only in 2020, right? good trending year, uptrend and downtrend and all that, right? And if you are going to be making a trading system only out of this past few months, right, that might not work in the next year or the next year, because again, this is law of small numbers, right? It's recency bias. You're only looking into data for just a few months, 2 years, well, not just 2 years. I'm talking about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, yes. So that is the law of small numbers. So I'm going to give you an example here. I'm going to be showing you one particular, again, it's an option selling system that we follow. If you look at this, wherever there's green, that is a profit making week, and wherever there's red, it is a loss making week. Of course, it's going to be a part of it, right? Losses are going to be a part of trading any kind of system. But if you look at this overall, right, you can see that there's a streak of losses. If somebody does not understand the law of large numbers, they'll go and look into this, right? So this is from November 2018 till January. They see that only in this particular phase, right, it has lost money in almost 70% of the weeks, right? But if you go back and look into this, when you put back all the large numbers together, right? So when you look at the data of last 2 years and 3 years and 4 years, that is when we see that it is a winning system. If you're just going to be following it consistently, that is what is going to make this a winner. If you are going to be focusing on the small number, right, the recency bias only in the recent weeks, what has happened? Of course, people, if you cannot go through this, you cannot go through this as well. At the end of the day, that is what matters, right? If you're going to be making money in the long run, if you're going to be focusing on, if you want a system that is going to be making money every week, I want to make money this week, I want to make money this next week, I want to make money today and tomorrow and the next day, that is when the problem starts, right? That is when people lose focus, and people look for winning systems that are simply not there, right? Simple systems do really work. Only thing is that we need to apply the law of large numbers and just get a data of like last 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years. And if that is something that is winning, right? If it has gone through the different phases of the market, 2017 was a different phase, 20 is a totally different phase, high volatility phase, low volatility in 2017. If a system is going to be consistent in that, you can be sure that it is going to be consistent in the future as well, right? Because it's past the test of going through the large numbers. And do not focus on small numbers. Also, we need to be focusing on bigger numbers, and we need to be delaying our gratification. And again, this is one of my favorite. And again, this is the last but not the least, trading as a business. We need to treat this as a business. This is a legitimate business. There's no two ways about it, right? Maybe people take this for granted, and because this, the barrier to entry to trading is very low, right? Anybody can just come and trade. So the barrier to entry is low. If you want to practice as a doctor, you have to go through a lot of practice, and you have to go through a lot of education. And if you're going to be a lawyer, and again the same thing, right? For everything else, there is the barrier to entry is little high, so people have to go through certain things to jump into this. But as trading, there's no barrier to entry. Anybody can open a trading account, put in their money, and they can start trading. So they do not tend to treat this as business. They treat this as something that they can learn easily, and they can just start applying without any kind of preparation for it, right? Of course, you do not need to go through a lot of years. You do not need to go through 6 years, 7 years of learning something. Instead, we just need to focus on the basics here, how to control the emotions. And again, when we're talking about business right now, so let's just talk about business. So we need to treat this as a business. So how a businessman would approach his business, how he is going to be running a business, right? And I'm talking about successful business. I'm not talking about people who are again trying to make a living, or people experimenting here, right? So I'm talking about business that are established. And how, if you go look at those businesses, right, they focus on having a process, right? They do not focus on the profits. The focus, if the focus is on the process, right, that is when the company can grow, right? If the focus goes on the profits, right, so there's not going to be any focus on the process, and there's not going to be any focus on the customers nor the employees or making the company great, right? That is how all the big businesses grow. Now take Amazon for example. They have this philosophy of putting customers first, right? Putting customers first, employees first, and getting the processes done, a lot of patents, and they put a lot of efforts not in generating the profits, but making the process right and focusing the entire focus of the management team, of the next level team, and even the functional level employees, all their focus is on the process. Nobody's focusing on the profits, and profit is going to be a byproduct of following a process, right? So in trading, it's not going to be any different. If our focus is entirely on the profits, that is when we get emotional, right? So our job is to make a plan, a trading plan, right? And our job is to not deviate from the plan, and the whole focus is to be following that plan, and profits will be a byproduct of it, right? It's always going to be there, it's always going to come, but it is always a byproduct of following the process. So do not focus on the profit. Of course, our end result is that, and that is what we need, and that is why we trade. But making the plan, the whole time is spent in making the plan and following the plan, right? So most of the time is spent here, and profit is going to be a byproduct which will come to us, right? And again, most of it, if you look at this, all the six things that we discussed about, most people would think that this is not important. They always believe that trading systems are important, trading strategy is important, what software we use, that is important, what is the indicator, which gives the magic result, right? And that is where 90% of the people are focusing on. By now, I can safely say that if you're listening to this video till now, I can say that you are not among them, right? By now, most people who are looking for strategies, they're watching some other video, right? So I ask you to do one thing. If you are here, I really appreciate that you're watching till here. And what is one thing that you picked up from this video? Please post in the below comment. I just want to know about that. And I'll be making future videos. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you soon in one of the other videos. So thank you. Happy trading.